especially when they first start. I think one of the frustrating parts is getting all your ducks lined up, making sure you're able to do things. I mean, one of the biggest things is obviously internet connectivity. We just did a few of new customers, new businesses starting out. And I think the biggest issue in this challenge was trying to get connectivity to them and understanding that sometimes it takes sometimes to get that connectivity in, especially if you're using fiber. Even in some cases, Comcast and Wow and some of these other providers, it can take 30 days, if not longer, to do that. So planning that out is important. Then obviously deciding your phone number, getting your website and your presence and your social medias in order to be ready to do some of the marketing and some of the items they don't look at it all the time. And a lot of times, especially when the startups start, they give that away to their marketing person, or they give it away to their web designer. And then down the road, they seem to forget that they own that, and that is their entire branding and imaging for the company. And somehow they've given that to a web designer and not had ownership as part of that. So that's very important, I think, initially to make sure the stakeholders in the business have access and take the ownership of the different technologies that they're interfacing with, especially when it comes to their branding and their pieces of it. They should be a co-owner and make sure that if something, God forbid, happens to their web designer or their marketing person, that they still have control and are able to move those things easily and quickly to another person. But in the most part, it's just getting up and running and getting the equipment, getting the items that they need, and understanding, in some cases, specific to their business, some of the other requirements that they may have not checked out prior to getting everything up and running, to make sure that they have access to the software that's specific to their industry. For us, we manage their hardware, we manage phones, we manage the internet, the access, securing all that, putting a nice bow around that with the ability to scan their emails and keep that safe in most cases, because nowadays with phishing and spam and all these other things that are happening, it's definitely a big issue for a company when that comes to be. But being able to have one source that is able to understand technology and is able to talk techie, especially to third parties, I think is a big piece with that when it comes to that. I think some of the biggest ones we just mentioned were the fact that I think some of the mistakes that a small, mid-sized business makes is giving out their social presence to somebody else and forgetting that they are part ownership and they need to have that ownership. So that if something were to happen or they need to take that back or move it somewhere else, it's just as important as having your founding documents in some cases to make sure that you own those items, you own your domain. You own your Office 365, that it's not being handed out from somebody else. A lot of times, companies like GoDaddy make it very easy to set up a domain, set up your emails, and set up everything else. But then when you attempt to move that or leave them, all of a sudden all that disappears, and all of a sudden all your emails disappear, or all your domain disappears because they have some stake into that you truly, unfortunately, were not the original owner with. And that sometimes becomes difficult. Another piece is just over time, making sure that things stay up to date. And I think that's the biggest one, is making sure you have a good program to keep your technology to the latest and greatest as far as your updates when it comes to Windows on your servers, or even Apple, and obviously up to date with your Office 365 and some of the other pieces. And the other thing is also, I think sometimes they forget that just having a router from your internet service provider isn't enough to make you secure behind that router. So sometimes you do want to get an additional piece of hardware that is a little bit more secure. And obviously that's good with inside the network, but if you're working from outside or working from home, it's important to remember that those connectivities and those connections need to be controlled or be monitored and be advised as to how to connect, so that you're not jeopardizing and opening up your entire information to the outside world without you knowing it.